Here's a quick video about bottling very hoppy ales or lagers, whatever it is. You chuck a lot of hops into your fermenter, and I always throw them in loose. And this is just a way, if you think you're going to have troubles, even if you're using a siphon, sucking in hops and that to block up your poppets and your kegs, here's just a little trick I use to make sure those hops don't end up in your keg. I don't use this all the time. If I've only dry hopped a little bit, I wouldn't worry. This was a big 120 grams. And so this is a part of a video of a series on my NEIPA extract video. I've made it separate because anyone that might not be interested in brewing an extract beer can still, this technique can still be of use to them with their all grain beers or however you brew your beers. Cheers. So I made the beer on a Thursday. The dry hop was a little bit later than I normally do it, but I left the dry hop in still in there, but for about 2 days, and then I crash chilled for 3 days. Normally 2 would do, but life got in the way. 3 is good. I can tell it's nice and clear, even though this beer isn't supposed to be clear. We'll see if it is hazy, but it's going to taste sensational. I can smell the aroma coming out of the airlock. The only trouble you can have with beers like this, and it doesn't matter whether you use a siphon or a tap, is that you probably can't see it, but the white line at the bottom there is yeast, and there's a green from the 100 or so grams, or there's over 4 ounces, over 100 grams of hops in there. You could put it in a bag. You'd want to put it in a big bag if you did. But you can struggle with kegs, if any of that hop matter gets into your kegs. Last time I did this, I didn't have any issues, but it was a little bit of a bigger brew. I had a little bit more room to play with and a different fermenter. This one's slightly different, and the tap's a bit lower. So I reckon I'm going to pull some hops out. I'll clear the tap in a second first and see how we go. But I'll show you a little method I do sometimes, just to prevent your keg post blocking. First, we'll just clear the tap. There'll be yeasts in it settled, and hops. Yeah, I'm pulling hops through. A lot of hops. Look at that. Oh, it smells sensational. I do that on all brews, and I'll do another one just to see if it's cleared up a little bit. They're still pulling a fair amount of hop through. The beer's quite cloudy because it's meant to be. And a lot of that's yeast. Sensational. I might just take a little bit more. Let's see. Well, I'm not really getting much hop. It still looks like yeast more than anything else. That's looking like an NEIPA, isn't it? It's tasting like one too. I always spray the tap after that, just to get any bits of yeast or whatever gunk and sanitize the end, etc. So what I use is a grain bag. Now this has been used in many brews, as you can see the discolouring. This is the one I use for the late hops in a lot of my brews lately. That's why it's a bit green at the end. But I've washed it, and I've just had it in the star sand bucket. I've strained out as much as I can. And it is the length of the keg. It is the length of the keg. This is just a regular grain bag. I think it's for brewing a bag in your kegels. I'll grab my hose out of the star sand. This is about 1 metre or so of silicone hose. Now this goes right down to the bottom. You don't want any sort of splashing whatsoever with your fermented beer, especially your hoppy beers, or any of your light beers, your lagers. Any splashing, even at this stage, is bad. So that's why you need a big bag or a big filter. I don't even like doing this, but it's just, I haven't got much choice at this point in time. You make sure your hose is right down the bottom of your bag, like that is. Like the chances of infection are very small at this stage, since there's booze in there and everything else. You feed it in. And make sure that's right down the bottom. You try and keep your edge of your bag out, of course. Hook your hose up. Make sure you're still right down the bottom. You don't want any splashing. And off we go. Where are we up to? We're about 20.5 litres now. So I'm just going to go down probably till this stops running out, because I don't think there'll be any bottling out of this batch. Oh, there we go. So even that little bit of air it caught in that pipe then is really bad for this kind of beer. You'll see a lot of people say, don't worry, a little bit of splashing like that doesn't do any damage. Well, I'm telling you, it does do damage. Some beers you'll show it in a week, some beers you'll show it in a month, some beers you'll show it in 6 months. But any splashing is not good. Any sort of oxygen or nucleation or any bubbles you get in your lines as you're filling is bad, and it's really, really bad for these hoppy beers. It's bad for any beer. But now, see, I can't hear any splashing. It's going in there nice and smooth. And we're nearly done, actually. Look at that. If you're bottling, you could do this method in the fermenter. If you're going to do bulk priming, and line the bottling bucket with a bag like that, put your sugar solution in, fill it up, and then pull the bag out. Or you could leave the bag in as you're bottling too, if it doesn't get in the way. Alright, we're nearly done here. We're going to start probably sucking hops in at the end. By the looks of it, it's still looking pretty good. I probably didn't need to do it, but it's worth it to show you anyway. There we go. So even that is bad. Just stop it there. Pull this out. Yeah, you still don't want to splash it. You're going to get a little bit, of course. Just pull it right out like that. Get the lid on first as you can, and I'll purge that with some CO2 in a minute. But quickly, I'll show you what. I'll make a bit of a mess, but quickly I'll show you what the bag caught. The bag did catch a fair bit of junk. I'll bring the camera a bit closer. You'll see the hops in the bag. There is not that much, but it's still enough to block your poppets a couple of times, if it happens to all bunch up in the right spot. So that was worthy. I'm glad I did it this time, actually. Oh, that smells so good. So that's it. I'm going to purge the CO2 out of this. I'm going to use another quick carbing method, different to what you've seen me do in other videos, and carb it up, serve it, and I'll see you in the next video. I just thought I'd put this on the end. Of course, there's many ways you can filter the hops out. I do it this way most of the time because I'm usually not thinking on which fermenter I'm using. I just dry hop, or I've already got the beer in and go, oh no, I should have put a filter on the bottom of the tap or something. So things like this, I've got these from China. They've only just turned up. I thought they might fit straight into the back of these taps, but it's a bit, as you can see, it's too loose. I thought it might be the silicone in there, hose. Nearly fits, it's still a bit loose. You might be able to rig something up. You don't want to hang into the bottom of your fermenter because you don't want to be pulling in yeast. It's just to stop the hops. So if you do get something to connect it, you want to try and keep it like that. And of course, these sort of filter things can go on the end of your siphons. I haven't got the hose on here. I was using it for something else. You know, on the end of your siphon to stop sucking it in. And you can put them on the other end of your siphon, like right on the other end, for it to go into the keg. You'll get a tiny bit of splashing as it goes through there. But once it gets underneath, it's probably okay too. Anyway, I know there's lots of different ways you can do it. There's inline filters, there's all sorts of filters, but I just do whatever's easier and quickest at the time. Cheers.